Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host. My name is Stomach Flu Steve, and
Hmm.
joining me as my co-host is the dynamic Dwaylon Davis.
Hey everybody, I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. That's good.
Which part, the stomach flu or the dynamic?
The stomach flu. Stomach
Uh,
flu, Steve. I like that.
well, I mean, it kind of describes the life in my house the past few days.
Yeah.
Um, and I still wanted to go ahead and get this episode recorded. That's what we were discussing before. It's like last week we were only able to record one show because you couldn't
Yeah, because
talk.
I had no voice. So
Yeah, you can't exactly record speaking if you can't speak. If all you're
yeah.
sound if you just sound like you're just like a mouse squeaking,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
not going to work. So
Yeah. Nobody wants to hear my puberty voice. So
yeah, so yeah, and I'm God, and I'm gonna have to try not to laugh because I'm yeah. Yesterday I actually called in because my wife had the stomach flu first, and of course she was nice enough to pass it to me because that's what you do as a married couple.
Yep.
You just pass it back and forth.
Hmm.
And yeah, so yesterday I ended up calling in because Tuesday when I was at work, I was just sitting there minding my own business right there in my computer, and all of a sudden I started feeling really dizzy and lightheaded, and that's not a
No,
thing.
especially not when you're just sitting there. That's not a
Yeah,
good thing.
and I thought maybe because I'd been staring at the computer all day. I mean, which
Hmm.
is possible. So I got up and walked around for a bit, just to make sure. I walked outside, got some fresh air, came back in, and it started doing it again. So that's when I went ahead and told my boss, I'm like, I got to go. And I told her, I said, yeah, I started feeling dizzy. He's like, go home. He's like, go ahead and go. So it wasn't that early anyway. It was like maybe half an hour early. So I mean, it wasn't,
Right.
it wasn't like it was like middle of the day.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, I came home and ate a little something and went right to bed. And next morning I woke up, I mean, just felt just drained. I mean, that's about the best
Hmm.
way to describe it. Um, I'm not really a puker. It takes a lot for a it has to be pretty vicious to make me puke.
Yeah, that's how I
Um,
am.
yeah. And the last time that happened, I want to say it was about 4 years ago. Um, and as my son, he had gotten sick. He got it from school and he brought it home, and we taught him that sharing is what you're supposed to do, but not,
But not that.
not
Keep,
that.
keep keep that over there.
And he didn't, but I mean, he was so sick that my wife took him to the doctor.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And the doctor said, get him to Children's right now.
Mm.
Yeah. Because he was severely dehydrated because he couldn't, he had just
He
been
couldn't
puking.
keep anything down.
Yeah. He couldn't even keep the water down. I mean, it was
Hmm.
that bad. So, but because he was so dehydrated, I mean, they had to, we had to get him to Children's, and I had to meet her there at Children's.
Hmm.
Actually, I take it back. It was 3 years ago. I had just bought the car that I have now that I'm getting ready to sell, that I'm getting ready to
Oh,
get rid of. But
okay.
just now I remembered that. But so well, they were there. He was so dehydrated they couldn't find a vein, so that for an IV, so they had to like wrap his arm in a heating pad, and I mean, yeah, he was that bad off, um, and the next couple of days, all of a sudden it hit me, and it was some of the most violent puking I had ever had, and unfortunately, everything else let loose at the same time.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yep.
and right at the time, my wife, she had gone to go get groceries, because we still needed stuff, and she's texted me, what, like, you need to come out here and help me bring the groceries in. And then my daughter walked in and saw me just kind of laying there on the bathroom floor, like,
It's like,
and she goes,
what's happening?
yeah, she's like, Mom, Dad can't come out. And I was like, no. In fact, please leave the room because I feel kind of embarrassed right now. um, but yeah, so thankfully I haven't puked with this one, but my son last night at about midnight, he started puking, and he not started to gross everybody out who's just now tuning in, just now listening to us. But hey, this is life at its finest. And he started puking last night about midnight, and he he puked off the side of his bed, as and so as he was trying to get out of his bed to get to the bathroom, which is literally right beside his room, he fell and landed in the puke, yeah, on his floor. And then as he was getting to the bathroom, he puked all over the bathroom floor. About half the floor is covered. My wife wakes me up to help clean it because she's getting it in his room, and then I'm getting it in the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those, like I said before, I mean, it was just chunky, and it was bad. So so he stayed home today. I probably should have stayed home today because um, a couple times at work I was like, my stomach's kind of,
It's like I don't know.
I mean, I have had other stomach issues related to
Mm-hmm.
this, and I thought, okay, well, let me go ahead and chance it today because I thought I felt okay. I mean, I knew it was 100%, but I still I thought okay to go to work.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody at work, if you get sick, my
Like,
bad.
sorry,
My
my bad.
bad. I mean, I try to stay away from everybody,
Yeah.
so probably should have worn my armchair booking mask because I actually had it with me. I just keep forgetting, because the mask policy has been lifted. So,
Yeah. I
um,
mean, unless you go to the doctor or something, yeah,
right.
everything else is the mask policy's gone.
Yeah. I mean, occasionally you will see some people still wearing them, but
Mm-hmm.
it's because, I mean, maybe they do have like a compromised immune system, or maybe they are
Yeah.
sick, or, something. Um, but yeah, so now I'm kind of feeling the effects of should have stayed home today.
Mm-hmm.
but I still wanted to at least get recording out because we kind of owe our listeners that,
Yes. Yeah.
I feel so. Even if we don't have a huge fan base, we still have people that,
Yeah.
may not be like, man, y'all been canceling a lot lately. So
Yeah.
it's like, well, I mean, we don't mean to get sick.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Trust us, it's not by choice.
yeah. Now I will say Monday night, I mean, we did choose not to have that one because to us being North Carolina fans,
Yeah. That was yeah, it was gonna be a that was gonna be a conflict
yeah,
because the Tar Heels were in the national championship. We didn't win, but hey, coming up number 2 out of 300 teams, I'll
yeah,
take it.
that dude, it's like 360 teams.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, I mean, and that it keeps growing. There's not by a lot, but every year there's a few
yeah,
teams that are added.
yeah.
Um, and every year of the tournament, there has always been a team to make their very first appearance.
Really,
Every single tournament is at a first time entry.
that's cool.
Yeah, and you got to think the tournament started in 1939 with 8 teams.
Mm-hmm.
Oregon won. In fact, Oregon won by beating Ohio State, I believe.
Okay.
Um, and then top it off, whenever they had the first NCAA, the first BCS championship playoff, I want to say Ohio State beat Oregon. So that was I mean, and I'll have to verify that. I know Oregon was one of the teams, but Oregon did after that 1939 tournament, they did not make another Final Four until 5 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, of course, 5 years ago when Carolina won.
Yeah. Well, you don't think of Oregon or Ohio State as, you know, basketball powerhouses.
Mm-hmm.
It's usual college, they're big in college football, but you don't think about them in college basketball.
And Ohio State, I mean, they've actually had a couple of teams, but I mean, they're very much. I know it's a weird comparison, very much like Kentucky in football.
Yeah, yeah.
Because Kentucky, I mean, they'll have the good teams, and then it's like, oh, back down,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden they'll be good, and then back down again. But Ohio State, I mean, they was it? They go to the national. No, they went to the national championship game the second year Florida won because Florida's the last team to repeat.
Oh, okay.
God, that was a long time ago. Yeah, because they repeated. They were the champs in 2006 and 2007. Because the first year they beat UCLA, the second year they beat Ohio State, and then turn around and they beat Ohio State in the football national championship game
Mm-hmm.
like the next year.
Yeah.
So there was like, what are the odds of that?
Yeah.
But, whew, but anywho, So yeah, the basketball, Carolina had it, and then they started playing sloppy in the second half, and they
Yeah.
unfortunately, Kansas now are the proud owners of the largest comeback in NCAA championship game history.
Hmm.
Because at one point they were down 16.
Yeah.
Um, but Carolina was still number two. Nobody expected them to go that far. Just a month before that game, they were a bubble team, expected to not even be in the tournament. They're like NIT at best.
Yeah.
And then they knocked off Duke at Cameron.
Hmm.
Krzyzewski's last game at Cameron. And they finally had their only time they've ever met Duke in the NCAA tournament, and it was in the Final Four. They beat Krzyzewski again. His very last game as a coach, they beat him.
Yep. Yep.
Which I think is very poetic. I mean, I think it's
Hmm.
the only thing that would have made it better if it had been the championship game, not the Final Four.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't think anybody tuned in to hear us talk about people puking and basketball, but we have to let that be known.
Oh yeah.
That.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the reason why we missed, because we would have been distracted the whole time, because
Yeah.
we generally start recording it at around 8:30, and that game was starting at 9:20, so we wouldn't have had a whole lot of time
Yeah.
to record anyway, because I don't think we've ever gone less than an hour.
No, I don't think so.
And we'd have been like, all right, we're gonna throw a little okay, done. And
Gotta go. Bye.
All right, see y'all later. And so really, so in the interest of trying to make a lot better quality show than us being distracted,
Hmm.
which we honestly would have been. So
Yeah.
but I want to go ahead and give our contact and listing info because that's something else I will forget, because I admit my mind is a little foggy right now, just from the events of the past, few days. But if anybody would like to email us, please email us at armchairbookingpodcast@gmail.com. Anything that you want to email us about at all, including if you want to advertise with us, let us know.
Yep.
We actually have had somebody reach out to us. So, we've had some other people, talk about it as well. So, that's actually a thing where we're just let us know your business. Well, that sounds kind of odd. Let us know what your business is, and we'll just go from there. Obviously there's some things we probably won't advertise, but I think the majority of the businesses we would,
Yeah.
But if you can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/armchairbookingpodcast. Find us on Instagram, also at Armchair Booking Podcast. You can find us at Twitter at Booking Armchair. You can find us on TikTok at Armchair Booking. You can find us obviously on YouTube if you're watching us on video. And you can find us on just about any audio platform there is. Just look us up. If we're not there, let us know. We'll do what we can to get added. And last but not least, we are hosted by Block Talk Radio. And speaking of Twitter, you can always find
Excuse me.
You can always find Coffee Dwaylen at, at fat_daddy73. If you want to just reach out to him directly and tell him how much you think I'm just horrible. And I do want to give a shout out real quick, because if you notice this shirt, if you haven't seen my personal Facebook post, this is from the TNC Sports Talk, also known as Jay and Trey. This is a t-shirt that I ordered. I think I even mentioned on the show that I'd ordered one of the shirts, and it came in the other day, a couple of days ago. So I decided to go ahead and rep them. There's good guys, and they are on a marathon session this week. They're recording, 7 straight days.
Yeah.
I'm like, you dudes are nuts. So
Yeah.
I've only been able to listen to one of them, unfortunately, because it's at 10 o'clock in the morning, and guess when, if we're going to have meetings, a lot of times our meetings are at like 10:30. Or sometimes I'm just right in the middle of work, and or meetings, and sometimes I'm able to listen, but I can't really get involved as much like in the chats.
Yeah.
And if they know I'm there, sometimes they will ask me a question. I'm like, oh, and they're like, if you're still here, and I've had to text Justin, or I was like, sorry, dude.
It's like I'm working.
I had to walk away. And they're cool about it. They get that. But definitely go check them out. Also, while you're at it, check out the Hillbilly Hill.
Yes.
Ted the Hillbilly Hill, the Hill Truth podcast. He's another awesome guy. We need to get him on our podcast, and we need to get on his podcast, because his shows are just, he kind of has a way of looking at things. I'm like, man, why didn't I ever see that? you almost feel like they're stating the obvious, but apparently it's not obvious if nobody's ever mentioned it. That makes sense.
Right. Right.
But he just brings it up. You're like, okay, he is a very, very good analytical mind when it comes to that. And he does speak like from a heel perspective, but heels really do make the business.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and you got to have that conflict. You do need to have like the good versus evil, because that's what drives the story.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, because it is hard to have like a good versus good, evil versus evil.
Mhm.
Even though during the WrestleMania something happened, then now I'm kind of curious as to, okay, what direction are they going to be going from here? And I'm pretty sure the match I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So our topic of the day is going to be WrestleMania 38. Normally we know people review it like the day or two after, but you know what? We didn't. We didn't. So just please forgive us.
Well, there's
But
actually some YouTube channels. There's one that I watch. It's Wrestling with Regret. It's
yeah,
Brian Zane.
yep. See
That was
that?
really good. They believe he just dropped his yesterday, so we're not too far off. So,
Well, and we can also speak on some of the events that have happened after WrestleMania, some of the
yeah,
fallout, some
yeah,
rumors, some things that are absolutely rumors, and it sounds like people just trying to cause drama. And then the people they were talking about actually responded and said, no, that did not happen.
yeah.
So, but, and I had to confess to Dwaylen that I have notes on the first night. I don't on the second night, partly because I only watched half of the second night on Sunday, then half on Monday, but it was before the national championship game started. And so once again, I was even distracted from there. But I think a lot of it, well, I'll go ahead. How did you describe it, the first night compared to the second night?
Um, the way it appeared to me, which I watched it, I didn't watch it live because we had a really busy weekend. So it was I started watching night one Monday evening when we got home. But I finished up night two on Tuesday. For me, as I like to call it, WrestleMania Saturday, night one,
Yeah.
was a wrestling show. That was a professional wrestling show. For me, that was as close to professional wrestling as modern WWE has gotten in the last 5-6 years. It was a really good. I thought it was a really good pro wrestling show. There was some spots that could have done without, but for the most part, it was a really good pro wrestling show. But that second night was the definition of sports entertainment. And good Lord, we'll get into it, but that second night was a struggle for me to watch the second night.
I think that's another reason why I didn't really take notes on it, because I was watching going, did they really do this?
There's only honestly one match that I would ever go back and watch from night two, but we'll get to that match in a little while. But yeah, night two was a struggle because that was sports entertainment at its finest. And when I say finest, I mean that very sarcastically.
Very, very tongue in cheek.
Yes.
Well, the very first match, in fact, I'll whip out my notes on it. Yeah, as soon as I can find my notes. How do I lose notes on a cell phone? Seriously. But the SmackDown Tag Team Title match. Yeah, and I thought it was a good match, but
it was a good. I don't feel like it was a WrestleMania worthy match.
Bingo.
It was a good SmackDown main event match.
You know what? And I said decent opening match, but nothing special, nothing to separate it from a SmackDown match.
Mm-hmm. But I do hate that Rick Boogs got injured. It was the spot where he picked up both Usos, and you saw his knee buckle, and it was just like, because the angle that his leg went when his knee buckled, I could tell it was like that's not a storyline injury. He was hurt.
I had to wonder because that was the same leg that he faked the injury
Mhm.
on just a week ago.
Yeah.
And obviously did I'm like, um, was he actually injured? Because I said Boogs is ridiculously strong, which he is.
Yeah.
Um, and my next note says the Usos tights look like the baby diapers with the squares that would appear when the kid pees.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like,
Yeah.
well, but then I said, was Boogs legitimately injured? And they're like, oh, he's been taken out. I'm like, if they had not just had that whole thing with
Mhm.
him, faking the
Yeah, where he
injury,
had the leg wrapped and everything. Yeah.
yeah, and he was called Peg Leg Pete.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, man, he's going like old school Disney right there.
Yeah.
So, um, but I mean, you even called it before the Usos were not going to drop the titles,
No.
you know, and especially even if they were going to drop him once he got hurt, it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah. Nope.
Um, Now I feel bad for Shinsuke because they paired him with Boogs, and now Boogs is not going to be.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, decent opening match. I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't super spectacular. It was a good wrestling match, but it was a SmackDown
Yeah.
match. So,
Boogs did end up, he ruptured his quadricep patella, the part of the quad that runs into the knee,
mm,
was ruptured. He did have surgery on that yesterday, I believe. They said the surgery was successful, so now he's, recovery, rehab. He gets to start that, which is, I know, I know Triple H's was a little different because he completely tore the quad off the bone, but that injury usually takes about a year
hmm
to recover from and get, fully back, back on his feet. So
well, Rick Boogs, he can take this time to also learn a new song on the guitar.
yeah, yeah,
Because seriously, if it took him 12 hours to learn Shinsuke's song, the only part he plays, now he does kind of rip some leads in there, some solo. I'm
yeah.
like, okay, he can shred a little bit. So, I mean, I'll give him credit there. Even though they already had a guitar player,
Had
had
yeah.
anyway, we'll get into that later on too. I don't even know what to think about that. But anyway, the next match with Drew McIntyre and Happy Baron dude, King Corbin dude.
this was this was your typical, again, another, could have been a SmackDown main event. It was, it was what it was. We knew what it was going in. We knew that they were leading to this. We knew Drew was going to win. There was no way they were going to have Happy Corbin beating Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. Drew McIntyre also has the distinction of being the first man to ever kick out in days.
I was going to mention that too, because I actually, part of my notes. Well, I said decent enough for what it was, slightly better than slightly better than a SmackDown match, but not much better. But Drew kicking out of the finishing move was an insult to Corbin, because I don't know if you saw the recent article where he actually mentioned nobody had ever kicked out of the end of days, and this was a shoot interview,
Yeah.
and he said that would actually, if nobody ever kicked out of his finish move, that would actually mean more to him than even like being put in the Hall of Fame because he said, I mean, because he does have a good WrestleMania, and he does get what it meant, and so I don't know if maybe BKM saw that and was like, "Screw you, hippie, we're going to have them kick out of it."
It's just my personal opinion, but I could almost guess that Vince was like, "Oh, I didn't realize. I never even realized that no one ever kicked out of that move. So Drew's kicking out of that move
On WrestleMania.
at WrestleMania because we need that WrestleMania moment because that's what we're about."
Yeah, it may have been a WrestleMania moment for Drew, not for Baron Corbin.
Yeah, because if Baron Corbin could have gone his entire career and no one ever kicked out of that, the only other person that had ever had a finisher that no one kicked out of was Scott Hall. No one ever kicked out of the Razor's Edge.
Yep.
And if the booking was going to be where Hall was going to lose, then he just never did the Razor's Edge. The Razor's Edge was like the most protected move in wrestling. The only move I'd put up there besides that is probably the RKO.
Did anybody ever kick out of Jake's DDT? because
Uh,
that one
yes,
was pretty protected for a while. Okay.
the Undertaker, WrestleMania
Okay,
8.
he did. That's right.
Hmm.
So, that makes sense because the Undertaker, he kicked out of just about everything.
Yeah,
So, and I think the first person to ever kick out of the leg drop was Sid. And
yeah, and that was by accident because,
yeah,
well, actually, not accident,
well,
but
it was out of necessity.
yeah, because Papa Shango missed his cue, so he was late getting down there to interfere in the match. So Sid had to kick out, or everything was gonna, the whole ending of the match was gonna get thrown out. So
Yeah, that whole see if they'd have had Roger Ruffin refereeing that, and he'd know what to do.
exactly.
He refereed
Yep.
some of the other matches,
Yep.
and he did a good job. So,
He really did.
and he got to accompany Reba McEntire to the ring.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I mean, that is. Okay, I need to stop laughing. That hurts. But the Mysterios against the Miz and Logan Paul. What did you think of Logan Paul?
Logan Paul was a lot. I still do not agree with him having this prominent of a spot on the
No, I mean
WrestleMania card that
exactly,
doesn't
but
doesn't include your United States and your Intercontinental Champions. But Logan Paul, I was actually impressed. He
yeah,
did a lot better than I expected. He didn't just, you could tell he didn't just phone it in. He actually, I mean, he worked the crowd.
hmm
You could tell he'd been working on his moves and everything for his first time stepping into the ring. I thought he did really well for a celebrity.
yeah. And the spot where he did the two leapfrogs, and then he dropped down and did the splits.
Yeah.
That's not something that
No, that's
anybody, yeah, much less men. Men cannot just. You have to work on that for years.
yeah.
And for him to all of a sudden drop down like that, it didn't matter that Ray kicked him in the face, but it was the fact that he dropped down, and it was like, wow. I mean, I saw a lot of people were commenting. They're like, yeah, Logan Paul is actually, like you said. I mean, he worked at him because he didn't want to
Yeah.
just phone it in.
Yeah.
Um, and I forgot, his brother, Jake Paul, he was part of the pre-show stuff, and he was working the crowd too. And I'm like,
Yeah.
um, Logan Paul, he could potentially, if he would keep at it, which I doubt he does, but well, I don't know. He's trying to do something.
I don't know. Yeah.
He could potentially be the best heel in the company. However, my next note: the Miz turning on Paul as a prize. So now who is the heel?
Miz is the heel. I did find out there was a report that I read on Cultaholic that the reason they did the spot where the Miz turned on Logan Paul is because when they were working out the deal for Logan Paul to come in, once that match was over, he wants to be a babyface. So in order to do that, they had the Miz turn on him because the Miz is always going to be the heel. So they had Miz turn on him so that he could be the babyface going forward.
Wow, I actually saw something. I didn't read the story. I just saw the headline. It said Logan Paul actually originally wanted to be the heel,
Mm.
but I advise him, dude, they already don't like you, like legitimately.
Yeah,
You got that go away heat already,
yeah,
so you may want to try to endear yourself to the crowd. And the Miz was perfect. The Miz, he's the modern day Tully Blanchard. I mean, he really is.
right. He's the perfect one to play off of to get sympathy from the crowd because they're gonna boo the Miz as soon as his music hits.
Yeah,
He's built himself to be that type of heel. My only thing is, at the end of the day, Logan Paul is a celebrity that's had one match and got to have that match at WrestleMania. I don't know how well the crowd. I don't know how well fans are going to view him as a babyface
right. And did you see the
because
Miz's face?
this isn't Bad Bunny.
No.
This is Logan Paul has made himself such a heat magnet through his social media interactions and the build up to this match that I don't know how fans are going to take him as this switch, this complete switch to I'm the underdog good guy now, even though I came to the ring with a $5 million Pokemon card hanging around my neck.
My son actually pointed out that card too because he saw it,
It is.
And
It was a grade 10 Pokemon card. I don't remember which character, but they said it is valued at $5.1 million.
consider Logan Paul. I think he might actually be banned from the country of Japan.
Hmm.
I think bringing something that is,
Yeah.
you think Pokemon, that is very, very Japanese,
Yes.
and for him to come and wearing it, kind of like the dude who had like the $1 million diamond or whatever it was embedded in his forehead.
Yeah. Yeah. Right here. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and then was surprised when somebody punched him and ripped it out. It's like, well,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. I
you
mean,
dummy. um, but did you see Miz's face right before he put him in the
yeah, that was,
he's like,
yeah,
oh,
that that was just beautiful. As soon as I saw that smile leave his face, I'm like, oh well, he's turning on this dude.
oh, what is Miz's finishing move?
The skull crushing finale.
Yes, because that is a move a lot of people don't give enough play, and they really should, because that is one of those moves you can perform on anybody.
Yeah, because at first I'm like, this is a stupid move. That was my opinion when I first saw it, and I held that opinion for a long time. But the last few years, I think he's perfected it to where it's the timing, because like Jeff Jarrett did a similar move in TNA, he called it the stroke, but it's like the timing was never right. Miz has got the timing worked down perfect on that move, and like you said, he can do it to anybody.
Mhm.
So
For the most part, I mean, I think
yeah,
some of the super
maybe
big guys,
maybe not Omos, but
no, but Omos, that wasn't a great match. I mean, we'll get to that a little bit later on.
yeah,
But I didn't expect that one to be a super great match, because even Bobby Lashley can only do so much with somebody who's
yeah,
green.
yeah.
Anyway, the Raw Women's title, the very first thing I said, the champion should always be the last one in.
Absolutely. I mean, I loved Bianca's entrance. I thought it was fantastic. I loved Becky's entrance. It had that Marvel Studios vibe to it,
Hmm.
to where they had all the different little panels and everything like
Yeah.
Marvel does. I like that. But yeah, Becky should definitely have come out last. The champion should always come out last.
Because I even put the Bianca entrance marching band was a nice touch. Not super
Hmm.
spectacular, but I mean, it was a nice touch.
No, but just a nice touch.
Yeah. Um, said Becky looks like an 80s female punk band lead singer.
Yes, she reminds me. She reminds me of a couple of things. She reminds me of character from Blade Runner. Can't remember the
Yes.
character's name.
Yes. Thank you. Oh my God. I was
With
like,
the way her hair was and the
yes.
makeup. She reminded me of the character from Blade Runner. Also, the haircut reminds me of early Joan Jett.
Yep. Early Joan Jett.
Yeah.
Um, not the Joan Jett that my wife and I saw in concert, a few years ago.
Yeah.
Not the nicest person on stage to like even her band and some of the people
Really?
in the, yeah.
Oh wow.
They started doing Crispin and Clover, and she all of a sudden, she heard something she didn't like and turned on, whoa, 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 whoa. And we're like, what? I sounded fine. And then they restarted something. She's like, sorry about that, and then
Oh wow.
then another point during the song, during another song, she was over talking to security guard, and she was like, and somebody apparently got kicked out because they did something I don't know what the person did. I'm not saying they didn't deserve or did deserve to get kicked out, but she got somebody booted.
Wow.
And I've heard that she's just not a nice person. I don't know about that, although, because
Yeah.
either way, I do like her music,
Yeah.
and just like I like Becky as a wrestler. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, Blade Runner. I was like, she
Mhm.
looks like something I could not put my finger on it. Yes, Blade Runner. That's what I'm gonna call her from now on, Becky the Blade Runner. So, now I did say that the match there, it was sloppy at times, but it had brutal action at times.
Yeah.
It was slow. The match
It was
itself was,
Yeah, it was slow, which I kind of expected, because like I think Bianca's one of those wrestlers, and for her to only have been a pro for like 6 years, she adapts very well to her opponent's style.
yeah.
Like last year when she wrestled Sasha, it was a more of a fast-paced match because that's Sasha's style of match. Becky does, especially her current character, she does a lot slower pace match because everything she's doing is leading to the submission, the armbar submission.
Yeah.
So hers is a lot slower pace, and I think Bianca kind of followed Becky's lead and kind of adapted to Becky's style of match. But I will still say that was by far Bianca's 2 for 2 in my opinion. Had the absolute best match at WrestleMania last year, and this was the absolute best match at WrestleMania this year.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the match was good. We knew Bianca was going to win.
Oh yeah, we knew she was going to win, but I mean, they made it. I'll give them credit; they made it believable that she may not win.
Right,
and that's as much as WWE likes to telegraph their victories, that is a major feat for them to have me thinking, well, they might have Becky, they might have Bianca lose, they might have Becky retain. So I thought they did an excellent job. Yeah, it was kind of sloppy at times, but in this instance, I think it kind of added to the match because as hard hitting as it was in certain parts, I think the sloppiness just kind of went in. It kind of played into the story they were telling.
Right.
It's like we're trying to get at each other so bad. We've done all this stuff to each other. We're trying to get at each other so bad. We're not trying to have just crisp 5-star match. We're just trying to have a fight.
And I think a sloppiness will make it look more like a fight.
Yes.
You know, Christmas looks rehearsed.
It looks rehearsed. Yeah.
Yeah. But speaking of telegraphing, the surprise opponent for Seth Rollins.
I told you.
Yeah,
I mean, called it.
I had no reason to doubt you, but at the same time, I wanted it not to be him just because it would throw everybody off. But I mean, it was.
But did you hear that pop?
Yeah. When
his music started, even like before the music kicked in, because at the beginning of his song, he always it says, in wrestling, there's more than one royal family. When people heard that, those people lost their mind. And then when his music hit, people knew, oh, this is real. This is really happening. And then when he comes up out of the stage, that was it. 70,000+ people were losing their mind.
Almost like the Hardys. It's the very same stadium, actually.
Yes.
And the Hardys was actually a surprise. Nobody knew they were going.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then of course, his thing now is, that tattoo.
Yeah.
Everybody knows Cody now by the tattoo. I don't even think he has any other tattoos. If you're going to get your first tattoo is normally not on your neck, as far as I know.
It on his chest. Yeah. No, he got Dream first. He got that one after Dusty passed. And then, so he's got Dream on his chest, and then he's got the American Nightmare symbol on his neck.
Yeah, the thing everybody looks and goes, did he have like a skin condition or something? He's trying to cover up. It just seems like just an odd location.
Yeah, it was an odd spot for it, but yeah.
And I thought the match itself, and I actually stopped taking notes after Bianca and Becky, because right about the time that Cody and Seth were in their match, that was also right about the same time that tip-off started between.
Yeah.
And so I was sitting here a lot of times like, okay, I'm watching TV here, I'm watching my phone here.
Yeah. I saw a lot of people were doing that on night one. They had I saw one of my Facebook friends, he had his big screen TV had WrestleMania on it, and then he had a smaller TV sitting over here that had the national champ that had college basketball on it. Yeah. So, so people, they found a way to watch both. Yeah.
Like I did, and so I have to admit, a lot of that match and the next match I didn't catch as much of, just because, because Duke and Carolina, oh my God, what a fantastic game. So, not to get too much in basketball, but Duke's biggest lead was 7. 5 minutes later, Carolina was up by 6. That was their biggest lead. But I mean, it was just back and forth.
Yeah, they were neck and neck the whole game.
Whew. But from what I did see of, like I said, Cody and Seth, I mean, the match was good.
Oh yeah, the match was fantastic. It's like for me, that would have been that would have been the best match at WrestleMania if Becky and Bianca hadn't been on the card.
Right.
Because for me, Becky and Bianca are that's still the best match at WrestleMania this year.
Yeah.
But Cody and Seth was easily right up there with them.
Yeah, Seth's wife. Yeah, because they're married now, aren't they? Or at least his
Yes.
at least his baby mama.
No, they're married.
They're married.
Yep.
You know, and God, yeah, they followed each other too.
Yeah. Yep.
And so, all right, honey, good match. Okay, your turn.
Yeah.
So,
It's like good match. I'm gonna try to top you, but okay.
Yep. But you know, I have to give WWE a little bit of credit because normally, if they have two women's matches on, they're not both this deep into the card.
That's true. Usually they use one of them as an opener,
Yeah.
and then they'll have the other one about midway through the card.
Yeah, because the next match was Charlotte and Ronda. I would say this was the last match, but we already know that wasn't true.
Yeah. What did you think of this match?
What little I saw of it,
from what you saw of it,
decent enough. I mean, it wasn't as bad as what I thought it was going to be because Ronda, I mean, to think about it, I mean, she's still not very experienced with professional wrestling. She looked better than what she had in the past, but you know, but I missed the ending because right at the time, so I mean, I totally missed like the last few minutes because that's when the action and the other thing was really getting hot and heavy, and I apologize for that. But
well, Ronda had tapped out Charlotte, but the ref was down.
The ref was down, right?
Then Ronda tries to get Charlotte back, tries to get the ref up so he can, get back into the match. Charlotte basically shoves Ronda into the ref and then ends up, I can't remember which, I think she hit natural selection and won, but I'm not 100% sure. It all happened kind of quick, but I was very surprised that they had Charlotte retain.
I was too.
I say surprised. There was some non-family friendly things that I said when they had her retain. Am I a fan of Ronda Rousey? No. But I was rooting for her. I told my wife this. I was rooting for her just because I'm so tired of seeing Charlotte with the title. The only positive that I can see out of any of this is that Charlotte is supposed to be marrying Andrade this summer.
Really?
Yeah, because they've been engaged for a while, so they're supposed to be getting married this summer. So maybe they'll have Ronda take the title from her at Backlash. And then, because I don't see this feud being over yet, maybe they'll have Ronda take the title from her at Backlash. Charlotte goes, she gets married, she does her honeymoon, all that, and just kind of goes away for a little while. And then maybe she'll be interesting when she comes back because it's just one of those, they have drove this Charlotte as a champion into the ground. And it's like, I get trying to build her up as the female Ric Flair. It took Flair 20 years to amass 16 world titles. Charlotte has 14 world titles, if you count the NXT championship, which she's won twice. Actually, take that back, 15, because she's been a 6-time Raw Women's Champion, a 6-time SmackDown Women's Champion, Divas Champion, because that was the first championship she won on the main roster. So that's 13. Two NXT titles is 15 women's championships since 2015. 7 years, and she's amassed 15 world titles already. She's one away from tying her father, but it took her father 20 years to do it.
And when he held the title, I mean, he held it for a while.
Yeah.
So
he didn't hot potato the title like they've done with Charlotte. So I'm just hoping, honestly, that Ronda beats her at Backlash. But the match itself, for me, was just boring because the way they had built this thing up, I expected a fight. I didn't expect the submission heavy. It's like everything was about the submission, and they telegraphed everything toward the submissions, and it's like, but you built this to where these two women hate each other. So why not just let them fight it out? And you have I won't say the greatest, but one of the greatest female combat athletes on your roster. Let her fight. Charlotte can fight when she needs to. Let her fight.
Mm-hmm. And in fact, Charlotte one time got arrested for fighting her ex-husband.
Yeah.
One of her ex-husbands.
Yeah.
Because she's had 2 or 3.
I think 2. I think Andrade will be husband number 3.
So another way she's competing with her dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
But one of the things, there was rumors about Rhonda. I don't know if you heard this or not about her.
I did.
About her walking out, on there because she was mad that they weren't going to be headlining, and she had to come back and say, no, the reason I left was because I had to go tend to my child.
Yeah, because they were like, why? Why'd you leave after the match? Yeah, she's like, I have a child at home that I have to tend to.
Yeah, I have a 6-month-old who needed me there to feed, and so. She's like, I had no issue at all with Stone Cold if because they were like, well, she's mad because Stone Cold was going to have the match. So people just starting stuff, and it's like, y'all need to knock it off.
Yeah, people are just starting stuff. Now, me personally, I'm just a very old school wrestling fan, and I still feel like one of the women's championship matches should have main evented. Personally, I feel it should have been Becky and Bianca that main evented night 1, not Stone Cold and Kevin Owens in a street fight.
And that's what. Well, yeah, it was a no holds barred match.
Yeah.
This one, okay, I was going to say they had no build up. Really, their build up was just Kevin Owens, the French Canadian, insulting Texas for 2 months.
Yeah.
And now granted, he was doing a good job of it.
I mean, he did a good job, and then Austin cut a promo on Twitter and accepted the match. Well, accepted to be at WrestleMania for the KO show. And then, of course, we know KO challenged him to, basically to a fight. Stone Cold accepted. The only part about this that I like, I mean, it was fun for what it was.
Yeah.
It was surprising that, I do appreciate the fact that Austin, gave so much of himself to Kevin Owens and took those bumps like the suplexes and things like that
on the concrete.
And the stuff they did on the ramp and all that. But I can appreciate them giving Stone Cold the opportunity to close his career on his terms, because it
closed it where it started.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to say. His very first match was in Dallas, Texas, so it was only fitting that his final match be in Dallas, Texas, because his first match was in Dallas at the Sportatorium,
which is no longer there.
Right.
Yeah. So, did you? I didn't catch this when it was happening. People pointed out later on. Apparently, he came in at the 3 hour 16-minute mark.
I caught that. Somebody put that on Twitter. That's pretty cool.
Yep. So,
but
yeah, I mean, the only issues I have with it was, Stone Cold. He got to close out his career he wanted. Okay, cool. We still don't have an Intercontinental title match or a U.S. title match.
Yep.
And there's other people who didn't get a chance to be on there.
Yeah, I mean, Damian Priest didn't get a match on the card. I mean, there's several people that should have had matches on that card that didn't get it.
Now, Damian Priest, we'll say, as we segue now into night number 2, or as they're calling it, WrestleMania Sunday.
Yeah.
He was involved, a little bit later on, not in the first match, but here we go with the sports entertainment part.
Exactly. Anybody who enjoys professional wrestling over sports entertainment, just watch night 1, skip night 2, because night 2 is a Vince McMahon dream. This is sports entertainment.
Yeah, because I'm looking over all the.
There was one match that resembled anything professional wrestling, and that was the first match.
And that one was actually, I mean, that one was exactly what we thought it was going to be with everybody involved.
Oh yeah, that was an excellent. I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of times it is hard to make a triple threat tag team match compelling, but they did an excellent job. That was an excellent match. Um, it was an excellent worked match. I was hoping the Street Profits would win it, but they didn't look. Nobody got buried. Alpha Academy still looks strong. Street Profits still look strong. You know, RK Bro retained, but especially that ending sequence with
Mhm.
with Riddle hitting that RKO and
off
then
the top rope. I
off
mean,
the
it was
top
like,
rope, and then Randy turns around and hits another one. It's like, I mean, everybody was hitting on all cylinders. That's an excellent tag team match. Like that's the only match on night 2 that I will go back and watch.
and I'd say they have Gable Steveson. It's hard. It's kind of hard not to say Stevenson,
I know.
but Gable Steveson. I
Yeah.
guess they already have him set up to go against Chad.
It looks
Chad,
like.
Chad Gable.
Yeah.
Chad Gable Steveson.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
There's rumor going around that they may have to, that they're talking about that they might do some kind of name change with Chad Gable because they've got Gable Steveson now. And it's like, why? His first name is Gable. His last name is Gable. I mean,
and they
I don't see I don't see the confusion.
You know, he's already been Shorty G. He's already been, which was dumb. And even though he's a pretty good heel, I didn't think he would.
Oh, he is a fantastic heel. He is literally an Olympic. You know, he's an Olympic caliber athlete. You know, very extremely intelligent human being. I mean, there's so much more they could do with him, but I'm glad he's getting the spotlight he's getting now because he absolutely deserves it.
And Montez Ford, one of these days, he's going to get his foot caught in the ceiling.
Yeah. That dude. Now, I hate when they throw out future world champion because they like to throw that out so much on people. But I could see Montez Ford being a future WWE champion down the line because that dude's got everything.
They need to get him started with the Intercontinental US title first, just to, you know, get him used to holding singles gold. Yeah, but yeah, oh, absolutely. And now that match was good. Next match, Lashley and Omos.
Oh, I feel so bad for Bobby Lashley because it's like, here's the thing: if they don't send Omos to NXT to get some seasoning and get some experience, you know, in their developmental circuit, you're going to have a great Khali on your hands. I mean, Omos can move a little better than the great Khali, but you're going to have a big lumbering giant that can't really give you a good match.
And you know, Khali actually he had some medical conditions to why he had that weirdish looking walk.
Yeah,
but I mean, it was because of his bone structure. I mean, he was actually physically in a lot of pain. You know, he was doing a lot of stuff, but almost played basketball at Central Florida.
Yeah,
so he should be able to. I mean, now granted, with guys that tall, you generally didn't see them running real fast. Except for that one dude who played for UK that year, they almost went undefeated, but didn't. That dude, Willie Cauley-Stein.
Yeah,
that dude was like stupid fast.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh,
they bill almost as 7'4", 400 pounds. But the problem is, there's only so much that you can do with him. There's only so many people that can work with him that are believable enough to move him around the ring, to manhandle him. You've got Bobby Lashley is what you've got right now, because usually John Cena was in that spot. John Cena or The Undertaker was in the spot to fight the Giants. And you don't have any one of those anymore. So the task falls to Bobby Lashley. Which kind of course, you know, Bobby Lashley did win, which I'm glad. I'm glad Bobby won because I can't understand having a former WWE champion losing to the overly green rookie. And I was like, but where do they go with Omos? Because now he's lost.
Yeah.
And that was your pet project. But they did redeem themselves. I'll give them credit because they had MVP turn on Bobby Lashley on Raw.
Right.
And MVP has aligned himself with Omos, which is good because Omos can't, he's not good on the mic yet, any of that. But you've got MVP to do the talking. So MVP can do the talking, mentor him behind the scenes. And I think this will work. A lot of people have been on Twitter like, that was stupid of them to break up MVP and Bobby Lashley, but it makes sense. Bobby Lashley is going to be a babyface going forward.
Mm-hmm.
MVP is a much better heel than he is a babyface. So
absolutely.
Align yourself with this monster and then get back at the guy who basically said he didn't need you anymore.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, and you have to give almost a mouthpiece.
Yes.
Because like I said, the only thing I ever hear him in his forms, all I hear is, "Rrr." I don't know.
Well,
I'm pretty sure he says words, but I just can't.
Yeah. I mean, that he's not good. He's still new. He's very green. He's still new doing promos. He has an accent that not everybody is going to be able to understand.
Yeah, because he's from Nigeria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he has that thick Nigerian accent. Not everybody's going to be able to, especially the casual fan that they're going for, is probably not going to be able to pick up on everything he's saying. But you give him an excellent manager like MVP.
Mm-hmm.
MVP is going to talk him in the building.
Yeah.
So that part's done. Now, Omos keeping them in the building is a different thing, but MVP can definitely talk people in the building.
Now they need to put almost Aziz and Apollo Crews all together.
Problem is they buried Apollo Crews and Aziz by having Omos beat them in handicap matches. And it's like, what's the point? You're gonna bury two people to try to build up one when you're not sure if that's gonna work or not.
And watching Apollo Crews is always so frustrating because the man is good. He just and I'm like, are they making him lose again?
Yeah.
And because he does moves that he's what, about 5'9", 5'10"?
He's probably about 5'9", 5'10", but he's a good I'd say a good 235. I mean, he's got a lot of muscle packed on that frame. And this dude is doing standing moonsaults.
Yes.
Flat-footed from the mat, just standing moonsault. Yeah. And just the dude is incredible. And it's like, I don't understand how they don't see what they have. It's like with Ember Moon. Well, Athena now, she's gone back to Athena. But it's like with Ember Moon, it's like, Triple H saw what he had. You saw that in NXT. She gets to the main roster and it's like Vince didn't know what he had. And it's like, do you not watch your own product? All you have to do is watch NXT and just do the same. Copy and paste. That's all you have to do.
But anyway, that was one of the matches. Also glad when it ended.
Yes.
The next match, Knoxville and Sami Zayn. I was also glad when it ended. This was the night of burials. Almost got buried. Yeah, they kind of redeemed, but almost got buried.
Mm-hmm.
Lashley, in a way, got buried because they stuck him in this match.
Yeah. Instead of him fighting for a championship, they stick him in this match.
Yeah, with somebody who's not just green, but I've mentioned this before, may not even know how strong he is, and he could have potentially hurt him. Bobby Lashley come off a legitimate injury.
Mm-hmm.
There was no reason for them to do Sami Zayn the way they did. I don't care if it was the entire Jackass crew who beat him.
Now, I'll give Sami Zayn credit. He was on Twitter today, and he said that for him, that match with Knoxville was like one of the best things he's done in wrestling. He said he had a blast doing it. But for me as a fan, I never want to hear WWE. I never want to hear Seth Rollins or any other Seth Rollins, Nick Khan, any other rah-rah pro WWE person say one bad thing about an independent company or AEW doing something silly, because that is by far one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen done in wrestling. And if Jim Cornette, who loves to bash AEW for things that he thinks is dumb, if he does not bash this match, then he's telling his bias against AEW
That's
right
true.
there, because this was just ridiculous. It was way too long. It was just stupid. There was nothing. I didn't find anything. There was no entertainment value for me. It was not funny. It was just dumb. It's like they reached for the lowest common denominator in this match. It's like if you're not a 12-year-old boy, you're not going to find this funny.
And yeah, I didn't find it funny.
And I don't know of many 12-year-old boys that are going to find this funny. I mean, for God's sake, they brought a giant mousetrap into the ring. A giant prop mousetrap. Like, this entire match was one giant Looney Tunes cartoon.
Thank you.
That's all this was.
Perfect
Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry, all the cartoons we watched as a kid. That's what this match was.
And it couldn't hold my attention, especially when I saw the mousetrap. I was like,
no. All
right, what else is going on? I mean,
all to promote a movie
that nobody's going to watch.
That nobody's going to watch, because it's, it had its fan base 10 years ago, but nobody's going to watch this movie. This movie is not going to do Avengers numbers. So it's not like you're going to get all those eyes from all these people watching WrestleMania because Johnny Knoxville's on there advertising Jackass forever. Nobody cares.
Yeah, nobody cares. And all it also does is, to the person who might be curious, who might be a Jackass fan, oh, okay, I'm watching wrestling. Now they're going to see Sami Zayn and actually not realize how good of a wrestler Sami Zayn is.
And here's the thing. Sami Zayn is an excellent pro wrestler. I'm going to continue to watch him because I know how good he is.
Yes.
But the casual fan that people are trying to reach, that WWE is trying to reach, are going to be like, why should I care about this guy? He just got pinned by Johnny Knoxville with a giant mousetrap. Why should I invest any time in Sami Zayn? It's how the casual fan is going to view it.
And we know Ron Killings, R-Truth. We know he's Ron Killing, R-Truth. I mean, we know he's past his prime. His best days are behind him.
I mean, he's 50 years old.
Yeah, he's won championships. He's done good. Now he's, I don't want to say relegated, but I mean, he's very entertaining. He has embraced that role. He loves, making the people laugh. I mean, even some of the stuff he does now, like, for example, a couple years ago when he announced that he was going to be in the Royal Rumble, he challenged Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
And Paul Heyman's kind of looking like, what? And he's like, oh, Brock Lesnar, I withdraw from the Royal Rumble.
Yeah. It's stuff like that. But it's like,
but he's past his glory days.
But R-Truth has already won 2 world titles.
Right.
How many people in this day and age can say, I am a former NWA World Heavyweight Champion? He's done that twice. He's the only black man to ever hold that belt.
This belt.
Exactly.
Right.
Ron Killings, R-Truth, is the only black man to ever hold that belt, the NWA World Heavyweight title. He cemented his legacy in the early days of TNA. Nobody can take that from him.
And the 24/7 title, they might as well name it the R-Truth. When he retires and goes in the Hall of Fame, because he will, they might just
put it in a case and hand him the 24/7 title. Because it's his.
Yeah, he made it to where people wanted to watch it. I mean, because Sami Zayn is not. I don't think Sami Zayn's hit his prime yet.
No.
And now
and look at the work that Sami Zayn's already put in wrestling. He's a former PWG World Champion. He is a former Ring of Honor television and tag team champion. He's been the NXT champion, and he is a multiple-time Intercontinental champion. I mean, the dude's done a lot in pro wrestling. So, but it's like this image is what's going to stick with people. Him getting pinned in a mousetrap at WrestleMania.
Never should have happened.
Never.
Now the next match, the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match for the women's tag team. I like the ending. Oh, I like the result. I'm not gonna say necessarily I like the result.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fine. I was fine with the result. I would have liked to have seen Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan win, but if they couldn't win, then I'm okay with Sasha and Naomi winning. I mean, it was a good match, but
but it didn't exactly set the world on fire.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, there was good parts. I mean, anytime Shayna Baszler was in the ring, it was good. But I mean, because that's Shayna Baszler, and
right.
Anybody who's listened to the show knows that I am a huge fan of Shayna Baszler. So, but I mean, it's just everything she gets in the ring and everything she does is believable. You believe that she is going to hurt somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Every time she grabs a limb, every time she does a knee strike or a forearm strike, you just believe she is literally going to take this woman's head off.
But like I said, I mean, I like the result. The match was okay. I mean,
the match was okay. It was
a
couple of steps above a Raw, a Raw match, but I wouldn't necessarily say it was a WrestleMania match.
You're talking about having a triple threat tag team match. Having a 4-way tag team match is
extremely hard. Yeah.
So, and I think that it kind of worked against itself.
Yeah. Too many moving parts to kind of keep up with. But yeah, the end result was good. It was Sasha Banks' first ever victory at WrestleMania.
Wow, didn't realize that.
Yeah, she's never before that she had never won a match at WrestleMania. So that was her first victory. There are currently more black female champions in WWE right now than there has been at any time in the history of the company.
Yep.
So I mean, that's a good thing for representation. But yeah, I was fine with the result.
Don't forget, I don't know her name. I saw the tweet, and I feel bad because I should have made sure I got her name. I noticed her when she was in the match, but the very first black female referee.
Yes, I posted that on Facebook.
You did.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that on Facebook, and I posted that. Yeah, very first black female referee in the history of WrestleMania. She reffed that night, so that was awesome too.
And she was a good referee because you didn't notice she was there.
Exactly, and that
I just happened to look. I was like,
yeah, and that is a sign of a great referee is when they don't bog down the match, they don't get in the way. You don't even know they're there until they count to 3.
Yep, they count to 3, or they count the tap, or they count them out.
Yeah.
But the next match, I hate to say it, I thought went long. It went too long. Edge and AJ Styles.
Yes, it went very long. It went. If they had have shaved at least 5 minutes off this match, it's just that's my problem with the Edge comeback. If you notice, all of his matches are really long.
Yes.
With his body and the shape that it is, he does not need to be working these 20, 25-minute matches. 15 minutes would be a good amount of time to tell your story. Now, I'll give him credit. That entrance was fantastic. I know people miss the Metalingus theme, but I like this new theme. It's still Alter Bridge, but it perfectly fits his new character. I do feel, though, that he needs to call Malachi Black and thank him for the gimmick idea, because that's Malachi Black. And even Brody King, who's in the House of Black, put on Twitter, he said it was a picture.
House of Black from Wish.com.
Yes. I was like, Brody King won Twitter today.
Yep. Uh, and you're talking about, oh my God, what's his face? You mentioned him a while ago, and this is
Damian
how.
Priest.
Thank you. When he came out, so yeah, he was at WrestleMania. He was involved,
Yeah.
sort of.
But here's the thing: all he did was stare at AJ, and AJ was so distracted by Damian Priest staring at him that Edge was able to spear him out of midair. It's like you were AJ Styles. You were better than that.
Yeah. I mean,
AJ deserves better than what they're doing.
yep. And yeah, that was really my only complaint about them. It went too long, and some of the parts were also because it felt too long because it was another kind of slower match, and we know both
Yeah,
of these guys are more capable. Not granted, they're both in their 40s now, but
yeah.
we
But
can
I
say
mean,
this goes well.
AJ can still
Yeah.
give you that fast paced match. But if you notice, people give Randy Orton a lot of used to gave Randy Orton a lot of flack about rest holds in a lot of his matches.
Mm-hmm.
Edge had a lot of rest holds in this match.
Mm-hmm.
And that, for me, that brought the match down. It's kind of Brian Zane from Wrestling with Regret. He's like, he always says how certain things in a match will just take you out of that moment. For me, all those rest holds just took me completely out of the match.
And the ending though, Damian Priest was like, well, okay, at least they're getting involved with something, even if it is,
Yeah.
the House of Gray. I don't know.
Here's
But
my thing. Now, I do have a couple of ideas. Like, it's obvious Edge is building this dark stable or whatever. So you've got Edge, you got Damian Priest. If they turn Rhea Ripley heel, she would be a perfect fit
mm-hmm.
for that group. And then you've got her challenging. Could you imagine the matches you could have with her and her as a heel and Bianca Belair as a champion?
Oh, forget it. I mean,
Yeah,
that would. Oh,
I would watch that match every single time they put it on. But she's a possibility if they want to turn her and Liv Morgan heel and have them join Edge. Because I mean, let's be honest, Liv ain't doing nothing else.
nope.
I mean, they're not going to do anything else with her. So why
And
not add her to this group?
wasn't Liv Morgan part of the Riot Squad?
Yes.
So she already knows how to play a character like that.
Yep. So I mean, I think the group, if it's done right, I think it has potential, especially if it keeps Edge out of the ring more. If he has more of the leader, the mentor type role, and lets the younger talent do the wrestling, because
Right.
Edge has even said here recently in an interview that there is a time limit on his career. He knows he
Mm-hmm.
does not have much time left. So why not transition to that? And then you're this almost like this cult leader type, and you've got these followers that are doing your bidding, and it's all younger talent that can get over. Because I mean, honestly, Rhea Ripley's already over. It's not going to matter if she's
Yeah.
a face or a heel. I'm watching everything she does because she is everything about her screams star.
Mm-hmm.
Just like with everything about Bianca Belair screams star. Everything about Rhea Ripley screams star.
And Rhea Ripley, she already has the look.
Mm-hmm.
Some that would be in a darker type of stable, and
Yes.
they need to talk to Kevin Sullivan about
Yes.
how to really create that kind of stable. What they should have had with the Wyatt family, but they totally honked
Botched
that
it.
one. Yeah.
Yep.
Um, but speaking of Kevin Sullivan, I could have sworn he was like in the front row, but and they're
I
only
thought it was him every now and then, but then
yeah,
like they
you
would,
saw the guy I'm talking about.
yeah, but then they'd show it again and it was like, no,
Mm,
that's not him. But it's like,
it sure
but
does look
ain't
like
it?
him.
Yeah. I don't know.
Um, yeah, because when I met Kevin Sullivan, sort of, um, at the thing in Chillicothe, Ohio,
Hmm.
a month ago, um, then I explained to my son who he was,
Hmm.
sort of, and he's like, "Oh," I'm like, "Yeah,"
Yeah.
but he's another one that I have their contact info. We need to see if we can get him and Andrew Anderson
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
show. So, um, speaking of Andrew, I'm pretty sure you've seen um the picture. Apparently, you're talking about big botch, and somebody ought to get smacked around for this. When they said a Madcap Moss, they had on the caption the Andrew the Giant Memorial Battle Royal winner.
Yes, I saw that. I was like, how do you mess that up?
I mean, and I get it. It may have been an autocorrect, but still, you got to catch things like that before they go
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway, speaking of a big botch and never should have happened, what was the point of having Sheamus and Rich Holland beat the New Day in a minute 40?
I don't know because they were supposed to be on night one. And then I don't know.
Okay, I knew there was a match that had gotten. I thought it was Bobby Lashley an almost match, but I wasn't sure.
No, it was the New Day versus the Brits, and it was supposed to be on night one. It got bumped from night one. They put it on night two, but then they only gave it, a couple of minutes. And why is Sheamus still winning at this stage in his career?
Oh,
Why is he again? He's another one. Why is he not like the manager type for this group? And Ridge Holland and Pete Dunne be the team.
Pete Dunne?
Yeah, Pete Dunne, not Butch. I just refuse. I can't. No. Pete Dunne and Ridge Holland should be the team. Sheamus should be the manager. As a manager, can he interfere? Absolutely, because that's what a manager is supposed to do. But he does not need to be in the ring, pinning people at this point at this point in his career.
Oh, this was a waste.
Yeah.
Especially when they gave Edge and AJ, like you said, was at least 5 minutes too long.
Yeah. That match had to have been about 25 minutes. I'm not sure.
24:05.
See, I was close.
Yep.
I mean, really, they could have shaved about 10 minutes off of there.
Oh, easily. Knoxville and Zayn was 14:25, which is about 15 minutes too long.
Yes.
I think the triple threat tag match was 11:30 is about right. Lashley and almost 6:35. I guess
really 6:35.
Yeah.
Man, I thought. I mean,
it felt longer.
It felt a whole lot longer.
But yeah, so they could have cut some minutes and then given, so maybe there was a reason for this. I mean, I don't see a reason for a squash like this. Maybe they'll explain it tomorrow night on SmackDown. Maybe something will come out of it. But either way, it felt like a burial, especially since the next match, McAfee and Austin Theory went 9:40.
Yeah. Now I do appreciate and respect the Big E tribute that Xavier and Kofi did with the gear.
Yes.
Because that was the gear that was the same. Their singlets that they were wearing were similar to the gear Big E wore the night he won the WWE title.
Yep.
Excuse me. Sorry.
I mean that is their brother.
Yeah.
Because they've been a team now 8 years.
I think so.
Yeah.
8 or 9. Yeah.
I mean it's been a hot minute. So
yeah.
And God, you think about every other stable that's been out there, any other tag team collective stable, whatever you want to call them, that have started and disbanded in the time that they've been together.
Yeah. I mean, you look at even the Horsemen rotated members.
Mm-hmm.
Even the Horsemen had, Ole was out, and then Luger was in, and then Luger was out, and then Wyndham was in, and New Day's never changed members. It's just been those three dudes.
Well, temporarily they had Kevin Owens for a bit, but that was an odd one. But it's like one of these things is not like the other.
Yeah, one of these is not match. Something's going
on. But Austin Theory, I think there's a lot of potential there, and I think everybody, especially like we were saying at the Elimination Chamber, Brock Lesnar went over, but Austin Theory got over.
Yeah.
And so he proved that, but they need to get him away from the whole alignment with Mr. McMahon, because that's not doing anything for
that's a death nail. Look what they did that with Drew McIntyre when he came in. Look what happened there. It didn't pan out very well. It's like, because Vince is going to get bored and move on to something else. And then if they haven't built Austin Theory up enough to stand on his own, then he's just going to fade away.
And yeah, that seems weird to have him with McMahon so early anyway. Early in his WWE run.
Well, yeah, because I mean they brought him up from NXT. He was in a group with Johnny Gargano. They were called The Way. It was Johnny Gargano, Candice LeRae, was Johnny Gargano's wife, Austin Theory, and Indy Hartwell. They were called The Way. And then he got drafted from NXT, and then they immediately put him with Vince.
Sounds like a new age cult.
Yeah.
Now the whole thing with McMahon all of a sudden challenging McAfee, after now this is another case of you have some people who didn't have a match.
Yeah.
And now you're having and McAfee, I mean, he is a great athlete.
I mean, he's a great athlete. Honestly, I enjoyed his performance. Once again, he did so much better than I expected him to do. He came out to the ring to Seven Nation Army.
Yep.
By the White Stripes. So I'm all for that because I love that song.
Yep. I can play that song, by the way.
Can you? That's awesome.
On bass, yeah. It's actually it's not hard, but
but it should have ended there when he beat Austin Theory. That should have been it. They should have moved on. Nobody needed to see 75-year-old Vince McMahon in his undershirt lumbering around the ring because that's what he was doing.
And yeah, he's still kind of jacked, but at the same time, it's like it's all in the wrong places now.
Yes.
Because and that's not a crack on him. I mean, that's just
not a crack on him. You're in your mid 70s. I mean, I hope I look that good when I'm in my mid 70s, but there's a time, get out of the way. Stop getting the spotlight. Just like earlier, was it night one when Stephanie came out to talk to the crowd? There was no need. Right. That was about 5 minutes that could have went to something else. Go. Tired of seeing the McMahons. The only McMahon family member I was okay with seeing was Triple H at the beginning of night two because he wanted to say goodbye because he's retired. He left his boots in the ring.
Yep.
That I completely respect and I'm fine with. But Vince being out there in a match at 75 years old, no, it was unnecessary and it was sad. And that is, I thought Vince took some bad stunners. That was the worst Stone Cold stunner. That was the worst take of a stunner I've ever seen in my life.
And it almost looked like I think he was trying to avoid it on purpose because he's 75 years old and, and that may be an instinct. But it's almost like also say, "Come here," like a dad going after his kid with a belt, and the kid's running, to the front yard or something.
Yeah, it was like Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. Get over here,
come here, and it was worse. I thought the very first stunner McMahon took, 25 years ago was bad.
Madison Square Garden.
Yes. Because when he sit there and went,
and he's just flopping he's just laying there flopping like a fish, and it's like
you weren't electrocuted. What are you doing?
I know, and it's like you just roll. You didn't even hit your chin or anything. You just rolled over his shoulder. Now Austin Theory gets the Scott Hall seal of approval, as I like to call it, for taking the stunner, because that hop that he did, he took it. Yeah.
And then of course Pat McAfee had to get a stunner too, just because. But then he kept drinking the beer afterwards. I thought that
what was great though was like he had just drank the beer, took the stunner, and like just went stiff, and the beer shot out of his mouth as he's falling back. Yeah, he's laying on the ground, just pouring the beer in his mouth. So I like that Austin brought his brother in for a toast. The guy that was in the ring, that was Austin's brother.
Didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I've heard him talk about, he really doesn't do his podcast anymore, but I've heard him talk about his brother on his podcast in the past. So, now the last match, the main event, the one everybody was waiting on, I guess. We've seen it before, not like this, but we have seen it before. Roman Reigns and Lesnar. Were you surprised that they let Reigns
win the title.
Yeah.
No, I for me that was the only outcome because they've been trying ever since the Shield broke up to cement Roman Reigns as the top guy in the company. Roman has done that work with this Universal title reign, but by him beating Brock at WrestleMania and taking the championship from Brock, it cements Roman as the absolute number one guy in the company. And plus, Roman needed to win this match because otherwise he would have been, he's already lost to Brock once at WrestleMania. So he needed to win this one. Plus, honestly, if I'm going to spend money to see, if I've got to pick between one of the two that I got to spend money to see, my money's going to get spent on Roman every time.
Yeah.
Roman's the more interesting of the two for me because he is where WWE were trying to get him as a babyface. He has gotten himself there as a good guy because, like, even on Raw, he didn't do anything but came out and cut a 5-minute promo and said, Dallas, Texas, acknowledge me. And how many people were putting that finger in the air in the crowd? Yeah. I mean, Roman is over. Like, he's the heel, but he is over because of the work that he's put in. So I feel like he deserved to win both titles.
And unfortunately, he legitimately got hurt with that.
I'm hoping.
Lock.
Yeah, I'm hoping that because he said he was telling Paul his shoulder was out.
Yeah,
and then he put his shoulder. You could tell he put his shoulder back in, but I don't think he got it all. I don't think he got it all the way in. I've popped mine out before, so I know how bad that hurts, and I know how it hurts bad enough popping it out, but popping it back in is what really hurts.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Roman got it all the way back in because you could tell that arm was like pretty useless, and so, it wasn't just storyline. You could tell he was having trouble even. Like,
you saw him when he was trying to hold the belt up, and then later on he was able to get it up, but he had to really struggle.
Yeah, he had to force it to get it up. So I'm hoping this is a short-term thing because I would hate for them to have to strip him of the title because he is nowhere near done with this run. They've even said there's only 4 men that have held the world title longer than Roman Reigns.
Hogan,
Hogan, Morales, Bob Backlund,
and Bruno.
Bruno, yeah, it's those 4, and then Roman Reigns is number 5. That is rarefied air.
Morales held it longer.
Morales held it for like, let me look.
Yeah, because exactly. I mean, I don't doubt it, but because Morales, he wasn't a transitional champion, but I know they had him with the title to more or less, in a way, temporarily replace Bruno.
Yeah, 1,027 days. He was the WWE champion.
So almost 3 years.
Yeah, and then Bob Backlund
held it longer.
Yeah. Well, technically, he did. If you go by WWE's record book, by WWE's record book, he's WWE champion 2,138 days. He lost that title to Antonio Inoki.
Right.
But WWE doesn't acknowledge that championship. They don't acknowledge the title change. So they just say it's still one seamless title run.
Yeah, and in that one, because Antonio, that's a weird. I still don't get why they did that. I mean, I know Antonio Inoki is extremely powerful.
Yeah.
In the wrestling world, and then just politics as well. Speaking of Antonio Inoki, kind of a side subject. You ever looked at what his actual name is?
No.
It might surprise you because I had to look and I thought somebody was messing around with the Wikipedia article.
Mm-hmm.
No, his name is Muhammad Hussein Inoki.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
He converted to Islam a long time ago, but of course, I mean, he still goes by Antonio for
Right.
professional reasons because everybody knows him as Antonio.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, he was born in an affluent family in Yokohama in 1943.
Hmm.
So yeah, he's been around a while. Um, but yeah, he converted in 1990.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was actually in Iraq negotiating for the release of some Japanese hostages, and he converted to Shia Islam and during a pilgrimage to Karbala, the Shiite holy city in Iraq.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so first time I saw that, I'm thinking, well, he also reportedly he describes himself as both a Muslim convert and a Buddhist.
Oh, okay.
That's a interesting combination there.
Yeah.
Um,
Bruno held the title for
a
um
long time.
2008 2,803 days. Like
Wow.
8 years.
Yeah,
Hogan held it for 4.5 years. Then Backlund had it for about 3 years, and then 1,021 days for um, Pedro.
okay. And of course, Backlund held it for 3 years the first time. He held it for like 3 days the second time.
Yeah. Um, yeah, Bruno held it, I think, 8 years the first time, and then hell, I think 4 or 5 years the next time he had it, like
Yeah.
forever.
He was like,
But and
then he
then
said, I'm tired. Give up, give it up.
yeah, and then Roman's closing in at 600 days.
Uh, I'm glad though they're not hot potatoing. At least there's one title they're not hot potatoing.
Yeah, I am too. Like a lot of people have been like, "Oh, I'm already tired of the Roman Reigns thing. Give it to somebody else." Who are you going to give it to? One, why take it off of him when it's working? Two, who are you going to give it to right now?
Right. And um, yeah, I can't think of anybody because they've let everybody go.
Yeah, they let everybody go, which is like you could have put Samoa Joe on SmackDown, had Samoa Joe and Roman Reigns in a program for the Universal title.
Yes, because well, like we've always said, Samoa Joe against a Samoan named Joe.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
some Samoa Joe.
they had great matches together.
Yeah, and Jim Ross said it because now of course, Samoa Joe signed to AEW. He's already had a match. I watched his match from Dynamite last night against Max Caster of the Acclaim. Jim Ross. Jim Ross could sell ice cream to a snowman. He makes you believe everything, and he said it perfectly. He said that Samoa Joe is one of the absolute toughest men he has ever seen in pro wrestling. And when Joe hit the muscle buster to win the match and then looked into the camera, Jim Ross said, "Those are the eyes of a trained professional killer." He's like, and God help anybody that gets in the ring with him.
Yeah.
And that is perfect because
Yeah.
that's Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe is like I always talk about how real it is when Shayna Baszler gets in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
That's how Joe is. And they could have had knockdown, drag out wars with him and Roman Reigns. But
Yeah.
no, he was a number on the spreadsheet, so we had to cut him loose.
Anyway. And I have a feeling, and I texted you this. I have a feeling probably within about 6 months to a year, there's going to be a new person that's either going to be All Elite, Ring of Honor, or Impact, and that is the man apparently formerly known as Elias.
Yeah, and it's like one, he needs to grow that beard back ASAP because
That
that's
ain't
like
working.
that's like me with no beard. That ain't working. No, that's too much face. I need to grow the beard.
Should I bring the picture back up?
I mean, you can bring the picture back up, but everybody can see that is I have way too much face for no facial hair.
By the way, that picture became really popular on Facebook.
It really did. It really did.
So
I had somebody ask me about that this weekend. We were at an event in Benton, Kentucky, and ran into somebody we knew, and he's like, "I saw you on Facebook. I saw that picture of you on Facebook, and I could not believe that was you." Like, yeah, that was 17-year-old me. But yeah, I don't think that Ezekiel thing is not going to work. It's like you had something great with Elias. It was working. Why would you mess with it?
They should have just let him be the cool heel.
Yeah.
Like what Roman has become kind of a cool heel.
Yes.
You know, Elias was much better when they let him be a heel, let him cut his own promos because
Hmm.
nobody could have wrote what he was saying.
No.
Because I mean, you could tell he was very spontaneous with it. And when he was bagging on whatever town he was in and then writing a song about it, nobody was writing them songs for him. He was doing it
Mm-mm.
himself.
Yep.
And it was great and it was funny. I mean, but he was still doing heel type stuff. And
Yeah.
so you're like, all right, cool. But everybody's cheering him. So, oh, they're cheering him. We have to make him a face. Of course,
Yeah. It's
they're
like you don't.
not necessarily. I mean, it's like, well, they were booing Roman for a long time, but you didn't make him a heel, even though then you should have.
Exactly.
They weren't booing him because they thought, oh, you should be a bad guy. They were booing him because they didn't like him.
Yeah.
And like we're talking like the go away heat kind of.
Yeah.
They didn't like him, but then you made him a heel. Now they like him.
Hmm.
They like him.
Which Roman has said in an interview that him and Vince McMahon had some, he put it as some heated discussions
Hmm.
about him turning heel. And he pretty much told Vince, I'm not coming back if I can't play heel.
And I think having the entire Anawati family behind him.
Yeah.
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 So, but there's also another person who did not appear on WrestleMania. I just saw this, who is not thrilled that she was not on WrestleMania,
Mm-hmm.
and that's Alexa Bliss.
Yep.
And I would love to see her go somewhere else. And actually, since she's from Ohio, I'd like to see her, just make an appearance at an NWF show. I
Yeah.
think that'd be kind of cool. But even though I seriously doubt that would ever happen, because she may go, ooh, Cincinnati, no. But but Alexa Bliss is another one who is way too good to be left off of a major show.
Yes. And I mean, stop with this whole thing with Lily and all this. Do the goddess gimmick. It
Hmm.
worked. She was over. Another one. She was a cool heel. She played a perfect heel, but fans respected her enough for the work she was doing
Hmm.
that they embraced her. Let her go back to that. I mean, you've
Yep.
got, again, she would be another credible heel challenger to Bianca Belair.
And you remember probably it was when she was doing the goddess stuff, and right after she did the whole the supervillain. Oh my God, what's her name?
Nikki Cross.
No, the one that Alexa Bliss was kind of portraying. She's in, oh my pudding. She was
Harley
joking.
Quinn.
Harley Quinn. Thank you.
Yes.
And see, that's why if I need to know comic book stuff, I always go talk to Dwayne. So
I'm I'm a comic book nerd.
yeah. So and I don't want to my son right now. Yeah, he's thankfully I think he's asleep again. Yeah, I mean this thing is just it's really taking it out of him. But if I were to ask him, he'd name it right off. Then he'd be like, "Good, Dad, you stupid." But but when she was doing that, I mean, I remember texting going, "She is the best heel in the company right now."
Uh-huh. Yep. I
I
mean, the
mean,
character work, the promo work, the in-ring work, everything. And it's like, how do you let somebody that talented just sit at home for the biggest show of the year?
yeah.
Oh, I know where. I know why. Because you know, we had celebrities and a 75-year-old man that needed spots on the show
And a giant mousetrap.
and a giant mousetrap.
Yep. And
Mm.
yeah, so now y'all cut the roster and look forward to the next few months when people are starting asking for their release again, but you're going to treat them like Mustafa Ali. Right now, you're just paying him to be home.
Yeah, let that man go.
Yeah,
I mean, as talented as he is, they did the same thing to Neville, though. Well, Pac now because he's
yeah.
gone back to Pac because he's an A&W. But um, when he was Neville, they did the same thing. I mean, he sat at home for like a year and a half. They did that to him. They did it to Luke Harper.
Yep.
They did
So
the. It's like we're not going to use you but we don't want you going to the competition. And it's like, but then you released all these other people that did go to the competition. So what sense does that make?
And are thriving in the competition.
Absolutely.
And I'd admit, sometimes somebody may just be a better fit for one
Mhm.
company over the other, because some people may be huge in WWE, but may not be, able to make a click in AEW. But of course, we've also seen vice versa, where for some reason WWE was not letting some people.
Yeah. But I mean, you look at the people that have left WWE and they're thriving in pro wrestling. FTR are doing FTR or tag team wrestling.
Mhm.
They are for me, they are the absolute best tag team in the world. They're doing the best work of their career. If you haven't watched it, watch their match with the Young Bucks from Dynamite last night.
I've heard it was phenomenal.
Oh man, it is so good. Their match with the Briscoes at Supercard of Honor.
Actually, that was the one I heard about. I've actually heard about both of them, but yeah.
Fantastic. Just so good. And WWE had them over here shaving each other's backs in the shower.
Hey, why are they feuding? Oh, well, the Usos walked in on them, shaving each other's backs. Like,
yeah.
what?
Tony Storm considered retirement after leaving WWE because she said in an interview, I read it on Twitter today, she said that she seriously considered retiring from professional wrestling after she asked for her release from WWE because everything she loved about pro wrestling, she felt she had lost. She said she just got ground up in a machine and lost everything she loved about pro wrestling. But she changed her mind and then she signed with AEW. So, and now she's like this. She said, for the first time in years, I feel like I actually have a home in pro wrestling. And, she's 20, 24, 25 years old. I mean, she's young and had already considered retirement because she had gotten so burnt out with the WWE system.
Sounds like sounds like it's burned out a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I think now we've covered WrestleMania, we've covered Raw, we've even covered a little bit of AEW.
Yeah, we got it all in there.
Yeah, we've got it all in there. We've covered a little bit of basketball. And speaking of basketball, I will say this, and you posted it. Fact, I saw, I said, Joy didn't like this, and never mind, he's the one who posted it. The Lakers are not in the playoffs.
Yes. Sorry. That should be professional. Nah, I shouldn't. Yes.
No. And I actually saw something, but unfortunately, I was not on my phone. I was going to save it and send it to you. But it was saying Jordan at 40 years old had a better record with the Wizards than what LeBron does at 37 with this stacked Lakers team.
And LeBron built this team. He handpicked all these guys. He was the one who talked management into trading all the young guys that helped them win the last championship to build this super team because he thought, oh, we're just going to roll through everybody and win the championship. He was hurt off and on, and then he just quit on his team. I don't care what anybody says. He quit.
No, he thinks everything should revolve around him.
Well, he supposedly had this ankle injury, and I get it. But if you look at Kobe Bryant, who had a similar ankle injury, still played to get his team to the playoffs. LeBron just sat out the last few games of the season. It's like when he knew they weren't going to make the playoffs, he didn't even try. And it's like, you have literally called yourself the greatest basketball player in the world, but you're going to just quit on your team. Anthony Davis is injury prone. I hate to say it, but he is. Kind of what happens though when you're one and done out of college though, and
Anthony Davis, wasn't he a UK product?
Yep, he played 1 year, played his freshman year, went to the draft, played for the Pelicans for a few seasons, got signed by the Lakers.
Did you see the trash talk by the Pelicans?
I hadn't seen it.
because apparently when he left the Pelicans, he said that's a wrap because he's saying he's going to a championship team. When
Yeah.
they got eliminated, somebody from the Pelicans actually tweeted, "Well, that's a wrap."
And then Carmelo has been. Carmelo is all about the scoring. He ain't worried about nothing else. He has never been a team player. He wasn't a team player in Denver. He wasn't a team player in New York. He's Carmelo's for Carmelo.
Mm-hmm.
Same can be said for Russell Westbrook. The
Mhm.
actually more so can be said for Russell Westbrook because he is all about his stat sheet. That is all he's concerned with.
And the sad thing about the NBA, and this is actually one of the reasons I don't really keep with the NBA as much, because the league, I know we're kind of really getting off the topic of wrestling.
Mm.
The league as a whole, to me, has become one big money grab. Like,
Mm-hmm.
to
Yep.
get the money, you have to, the more games you have, the more money you have. Well, let's keep expanding the playoffs, keep expanding the playoffs, keep expanding the playoffs. There are 30 teams in the NBA, 20 of them make the playoffs.
Yeah.
66% of
Yeah.
your teams are in the playoffs, and the Lakers aren't one of them.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's how.
The second most successful franchise in the history of the NBA is not in the playoffs.
And they supposedly have, the heir apparent to Jordan.
They supposedly have the greatest player in the world,
King James.
Yeah, on their team, and they're going to be sitting at home watching the playoffs and the finals, which I'm fine with because I'm not a Lakers fan, but more so, I am absolutely not a LeBron James fan. So I'm always happy when he gets to sit at home and watch everybody else play.
I'll say this about LeBron James, and then we probably should wrap it up. Because, because my stomach is telling me some stuff. When I was in Dayton, I mentioned this before. When I was stationed in Dayton, LeBron James was still in high school.
Right.
And of course, his senior year, he was one of the last that went straight from high school into the NBA. And I mean, he was the best high school player in the country, and he was good enough to make the pros right out of high school. Okay, very talented. They would have on the Dayton TV station, which is, we can't pick up Akron TV stations from Dayton. It's too far away. But they were still showing the LeBron James play of the day or play the, whatever. I'm like, okay, and they almost had him playing in the Nutter Center, there at Wright State where my daughter goes. But during the time he was going to play there, they had a game schedule and everything. Then his eligibility came into question because of, so I don't remember the exact details, but they didn't let him play for about 2 weeks until they got it all straightened out, and then they came back. But that was during that period. But one of the plays they showed for the LeBron James, play of the day, play of the week, was him going on a fast break, him jumping up, ball down between his legs, coming up and dunking the ball. I'm like, that's great. And if I was his coach, I'd have ripped his rear end as soon as he came off the floor.
Yep.
They said, this ain't street ball, kid.
Yep. Stop showboating.
Yeah, because what happens? You get up there, that ball goes flying because you've lost control of it.
Yep.
You want to do that during a dunk contest? Great. You want to do it street ball where it doesn't mean anything? Great. You don't do that during a game. It almost be like in Major League, the movie.
Yeah.
Nice catch, A's. Don't ever effing do it again.
Yeah.
That's the way it would be. But that's always been my impression of LeBron James. So this goes back when he was 18 years old. So but anyway, so yep. So we now covered WrestleMania, and we'll definitely, hopefully next week we'll have a lot more shows.
Yeah.
Life happens, health reasons happen. We knew we were going to be distracted, so we just kind of made that decision. It's like, if we're going to more or less give a not so great show, let's just not even do it.
Right.
So I mean, and take that for what it is. Now, I mean, we're not like Eric Church, who canceled an entire concert to watch a game where people paid.
Yeah.
Bad look, dude. Bad look. But either way, hopefully we may have even more shows, to make up for it.
Yeah.
So especially because I'm still, depending on Phil, hopefully I'll be okay by this Saturday. I'm still planning on going to Chillicothe for their fan fest because I want to meet the Rock and Roll Express. They're on their last thing before they finally are done. I want to meet Sergeant Slaughter. He follows us on Twitter. Maybe we can get him on the show.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Hacksaw Duggan's going to be there, and Tony Atlas is going to be there, which is kind of
Awesome.
interesting. If you ever watched The Legends House, did you ever watch that?
Mhm. Yeah.
So I wonder if one's going to be in one corner, one's going to be in the other corner.
Maybe.
So, but also Big Mama's going to be there. Riley Matthews is going to be there,
Mhm.
and she said Riley said she's going to have merch and she's going to be signing autographs. So,
Cool.
dude, she is, she's on her way.
Yeah, she really is.
Yeah. So, very happy to see that. I can always honestly say I was the first person to ever interview her.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, you missed that one.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe we can get on the show. I'd be one to bet she'd be happy to come on the show again. And to kind of talk about everything that's been happening in the past year. Since her career kind of started. Because I actually saw her very first match also in a parking lot of a car dealership.
Yeah. I remember you were telling me about that.
Yep, her and Breezy. So, but either way, we'll figure out some good topic. We still need to cover Triple H.
Yes, yes, we do.
Yeah,
his retirement and his impact on the business, and
both good and bad. I mean, because we're not going to say it's, he's had some negatives, but I mean, overall, I mean, he's been better than what he has been bad. So,
yeah.
But we'll figure it all out. But until we do, God bless.
God bless.